Hello and welcome to another episode of Next Week in Gaming. Next week is our November week 1 and as usual we'll be covering game reviews, game releases, early access releases, bundles, deals, interviews and all that kind of stuff. So first up we have the Humble Jumbo Bundle 5. This is of course a assortment of reasonably decent indie titles and there's 3 levels as usual. The first tier, this tier is going to include Insurgency, which itself is worth it for this bundle, as well as Abyss Odyssey, which I accidentally read as Abe's Odyssey, and Men of War Assault. So there's a reasonably decent amount of games, although Insurgency has been on one of these bundles before. If you don't already have Insurgency and missed the dozens of opportunities to buy it on a Steam sale, then now is a pretty decent time to jump on it. It's a pretty good grey-brown shooter, and it actually has a decent online community and a lot of great mods. Second tier includes Black Gods 1 and 2, as well as Contagion, which comes in a 4-pack. Contagion is an alright zombie shooter game. It's not quite Killing Floor material, but it's it's up there in terms of multiplayer games. This is quite a multiplayer orientated bundle, and Black Gods 1 and 2 is an okay turn-based strategy game. On to the third tier, we have a couple of decent games, which is Spin Tires. Now this is a bit of a bizarre sort of mud driving simulator. I've never played it myself. I never sort of saw the entertainment value for me personally, but I'm sure it's got a bit of a niche market out there for those who might enjoy it. And of course there is also the Dragon Commander, the Divinity game. This is a bit of a peculiar strategy game. It's quite different. I think you'd struggle to find games similar to it. It's sort of a weird mix between a tower defense and attack game, with some dragon control concepts added in there. If you remember games like Drakengard, it's sort of like that when you control the dragon briefly. Overall, it's a decent bundle, but I don't think it's one of the best jumbo bundles we've seen in quite some time. Perhaps we've just got a bit of humble fatigue lately. So first up next week is a game by Sonic Team. This is of course Sonic Lost World. This comes out on Monday the 2nd of November and it's of course being published by Sega. Now this is just, your average Sonic game, except it's going to mix the various arts of the side-scrolling game from the Mega Drive all the way down to the later games where you're running straight towards the horizon. So this is, it's just an average Sonic game. Unfortunately, they are advertising features like 60 FPS and HD textures, which is odd considering it's 2015 and these are generally considered standard features in most games. So that is a little bit worrying. The storyline, Eggman, crazy, evil 5, 6 monsters, it's a Sonic game. It's going to be fun. Also coming out on Monday the 2nd of November is a game by Radiation Burn, and this is called The Lost Dungeon. Now this is actually quite an interesting looking concept, and when I look at it I sort of think, oh, small soldiers, because you're playing in sort of like a realistic 3D tabletop environment and the models are slightly tallish but not quite, like those old films in like the 60s or 70s where they had plastic dinosaurs, and the old Greek films where they had bizarre stop motion animated octopuses and stuff like that. And it's like that. It does look a little bit rough around the edges at present, so maybe we could hopefully pray for a little bit more polish as the game gets patched. But this game is quite interesting because you can play with up to 9 players in the multiplayer mode, and you are allowed maximum of 5 moves per turn, 5 actions per turn rather, and you have to take your entire turn within 2 minutes. So it's quite similar to some of the more modern CCG games like Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone in that regard. And there is a genuine factor of luck about it, but it's not just other people and monsters that are trying to kill you, it's the actual dungeon itself, which seems to be quite animated. So it looks quite cool. There is of course a full campaign mode which is apparently 30 hours long, so I'm not 100% sure about this. It definitely looks like a very interesting concept, but I'm being quite wary and just sort of looking at it after it releases and seeing how it goes. Coming out on Tuesday the 3rd of November is a game by Blue Byte, and this is of course Anno 2205. I've been a big fan of the Anno games over the years. Me and one of my friends, we pretty much play them every time they come out, just because it's very, very good for a casual game. Like I remember watching a YouTuber, he was very big on Crisis games, except he did like a massively long series on how to build awesome cities in Anno, and it's just one of those games where you can sit back, look, and it looks pretty and you enjoy yourself. It's sort of like it doesn't really, your achievements are your own. They're the ones that you set yourself, and that's probably why Anno has been so popular. This game is very much like Anno 2014 70, except you can now build on the moon. So obviously, hopefully, you'll be able to set up trade routes between the Earth and the moon, which sounds kind of cool. Unfortunately, there isn't any word about going to any other planets or moons or going amongst the stars, but you know, getting onto the moon is kind of awesome, and that's obviously going to add a whole new set of levels for energy and helium-3 being on the moon, like all those random Nazi films. And all, you know, it's just going to open up a lot of possibilities and unit types and everything like that. So it's a nice step in one direction. I'm not 100% sure whether it's going to change enough and add enough content to warrant a full extra price, because it very much sounds like adding moon-based stuff is more expansion material, but you know, we never know. It might genuinely be a whole extra interesting piece of content, and I'll probably take a look at it when it comes out soon. Releasing on Friday the 6th of November is a game by Treyarch, and it's probably one of the biggest releases of this month, unfortunately, and that is Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Now, this is going to be business as usual, typical Call of Duty shooter. Multiplayer is going to be the most important factor, although it is boasting all this wonderful stuff about the campaign being re-evolved or some other corporate bullshit bingo. And you know, they've spent a hell of a lot of money on voice actors for the tacked on zombie mode piece of content, and you know, looking at trailers, it does look reasonably interesting. I mean, it's come a long way since the original Call of Duty, which I quite enjoyed, but it's going to be business as usual. I think we shouldn't kid ourselves too much or get our hopes up that Call of Duty will once again become a reasonably well sought after game for more than just 15-year-old Xbox player reasons. So yeah, you know, if you don't like Call of Duty, you're never going to like it, and if you do like it, you're probably going to buy it regardless of what anyone says. And finally, onto our review, which will be put up on Thursday the 5th of November. This is by Creative Forge Games, and it's being published by Gamebitious. This is, of course, Hard West, which is one of the games I've been looking forward to, simply because I played a lot of the original Commandos games on very, very old PCs, back when I was a teenager, I think. And, you know, I love those sorts of games. Nothing is more interesting than cowboy turn-based strategy games, and not to mention the fact that it's now including cult, demons, and satanic random crazy groups. So it just sounds interesting. It looks fantastic, and overall I've desperately wanted to play it, and the fact that I get to review it is very, very fortunate, shall we say. So yeah, join us next week on Thursday for that review, and we can see, you know, if it's taking a chip off the old block from Commandos. That's it from us at NextPowerUp. Join us next week on Thursday for our weekly review of Hard West, and of course next week on Saturday for our next Week in Gaming episode. As usual, leave your comments in the section below for what games you guys have been playing. Battleborn and Overwatch have currently got closed betas and closed alpha technical tests or something going on. I did manage to get into Battleborn, I think, but I missed my press release email by a few hours and didn't get into Overwatch. So let us know if you guys managed to get signed up for that, and if you managed to get in there. Hit us a line if you got into Battleborn, and maybe we can join up. Thanks for watching, you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.